Hey guys, welcome back to the Mat with Matt. Here with you Thursday, November 30th, and we're going to be talking about AEW Dynamite that happened last night in Minneapolis. So this is going to be the Dynamite Digest we're going to start doing reviews weekly for AEW Dynamite here popping up on Thursdays. And I really want to get into this. I thought this was a pretty good card. I thought everything about this was really good. There were a couple things that they definitely need to work on, but I thought this was a very solid episode for them. I think with the addition of the tournament, I think that's really brought in a lot of excitement into AEW recently. I think there's AEW still a long ways to go and things that it needs to keep working on. But these type of matches and these type of cards that they put out are definitely good. I was entertained throughout this episode. And again, we're going to be doing these more weekly. I know we do the Raw Recap Tuesdays. We're going to do Dynamite Digest on Thursday. And then Sunday, we're going to do a combined video that we put out that is going to be for SmackDown and Collision. And probably Rampage if anything interesting happens on Rampage, but might go over it. But thank you for joining us. If you guys like these type of videos, give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe, and share with your friends. If you are looking for more wrestling content, you know a lot of people are too, share us with everybody. Get the word out. And thank you again for tuning in. So, without further ado, we're going to go into AEW Dynamite. One of the things that opened up this show, we had Bryan Danielson returning. He was going to be on commentary. I thought he was only going to be on commentary for a little bit, but he was on commentary for the whole episode, basically. And I think that's good. I think Bryan is really good on the mic, and I think he definitely did well with some of the Continental Classic matches. He still has an eye patch on, and obviously I know coming off of surgery, entering the tournament, I think a lot of people are worried about his health. I'm not. I think he's going to be fine. I think, for one, I think Bryan Danielson's going to wrestle whether Bryan Danielson wants to wrestle. And clearly he wants to wrestle. He's not worried about it. I don't think any doctor is probably not going to stand in the way and say, no, he's not going to clear him. And I know that that is kind of a sore spot. I know a lot of people aren't always the biggest fans of having actually injured wrestlers wrestle. But again, it's Bryan Danielson. I don't think he's going to stop for that. I think he wants to be in it. If he thinks he's good, he thinks he's good. If he gets hurt again, then it's on Bryan Danielson that he gets hurt again. I think he's going to be fine. But again, he wasn't returning just yet. He came on Dynamite for commentary. I actually liked him, and I'll kind of get into that more, but I liked him on commentary. I thought he did well with Excalibur. I think Taz was there and existed as usual. Tony Schiavone popped in here and there. I think he's good. I think he's an interesting commentator. I eventually probably could see Danielson doing more of that behind the scenes. I know that's an idea that you have. Danielson's kind of winding down his career. But I could definitely see him being commentator, being on Dynamite throughout the years, just constantly being on TV, even though he's not wrestling anymore. I think that'll be a thing, and I don't mind him in that role. So, after he comes out, we had the first match. It was a Continental Classic match. It was between Jon Moxley and Jay Lethal. And I think this was a very solid match. This was really good. I think when you have two long-term professionals in there with Jon Moxley and Jay Lethal, they can pretty much put a match out of anything. I thought this match was really good. I think Moxley definitely feels like one of the favorites in this, and I think that's just because of where Moxley is currently in his career. Moxley, and I've said this before, Moxley feels he could just go and win the title tomorrow, and I think everyone would buy it. And I think that's just by design. He's definitely still one of the biggest stars in AEW, and I think that's a good place to have someone like Jon Moxley in this tournament. He feels like someone who, if he did win the Gold League, he could win the Gold League, and it's believable. Likewise, Jay Lethal is not at that level, but Jay Lethal is a great professional wrestler. He looked good in this match. I think both of them looked good in this match. They told a good story. Lethal went after Jon's knee. Jon was resilient. Jon fought through. At the end result, you had Moxley picking up the win over Jay Lethal. And I thought that was good. I think it's kind of where it needed to be. You get Jon now has 6 points, currently leading the gold division, and Lethal is now 0-2. And I think it was good. I mean, I think you set up, I think Jon Moxley's, I think what they're going for, they're going to have a lot of points behind Jon Moxley to be at the end of the Gold League, and they probably might save Swerve and Moxley for the last match and have Swerve win and put him over. But I think it was good. And I mean, if you're Jay Lethal here, you hate to say it, but he's just kind of one of the people who's in the tournament to help other people. I don't think when Jay Lethal got selected, anyone was thinking, oh, Jay Lethal is going to win one of these matches or potentially win this division. I don't think anyone ever thought that. But if you do have to get someone in this tournament that is a believable wrestler to sneak out a tie or even sneak out a win, it would be Jay Lethal. And I think it was good. I thought the match was good, and I think everything about it was fine. I think it moved the story, moved everything along. It was good, and it felt very much like either a Jay Lethal or Jon Moxley match. I don't think there was anything bad. It was pretty straightforward, but I was excited for it. I thought it was nice. So that was a good little caveat, a good way to start Dynamite. I thought that was, of all the matches, when this card got announced, I was really hoping that Swerve and Jay White would have been at the main event, and I was hoping that this match, or you could have had Roosh and Mark Briscoe open. But this is a good match to open. I think everyone was excited. The crowd really got behind this match, and they really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. And that kind of led into just a little bit of the rest of the card and what was to come. The next thing that we had was a little bit of an Eddie Kingston backstage promo. Talking about his loss to Brody, talking about he's hurt, talking about how he's humble in victory, humble in defeat, and he's going to be ready for Bryan Danielson. I think giving Eddie little vignettes is nice. I'm not sure what they're going to do with Eddie, because when I'm looking at the Blue Division, I'm not thinking that Eddie Kingston is going to win. I felt like if they were going to have him win, they could have opened with him tying Brody or even beating Brody. But he definitely, these little vignettes and little promos he does, definitely keep him in the mix. I think it's one of his strong suits is being on the mic. So keep doing videos like that, keep having Eddie Kingston cut little things, keep him interested. And then it cut back to Bryan Danielson, who also cut a little bit of a promo at the announce desk. And Bryan was fired up, talking about that he's not going to be humble in victory, not going to be humble in defeat. And he's coming in with a fire, and he's coming in to win. And again, I think this is going to be an interesting match. Definitely feels like this is a match that is more of a must-watch on Collision. I think Collision recently, and I think everyone talks about the ratings, and I think it is a little bit in the danger zone. Just not many people are tuning into it. I think a match like Daniel Bryan and Eddie Kingston is probably a must-watch match. That sounds like a great match. You also have Brody and Claudio on that card. I think that's a must-watch. I think it'll be interesting to see how Collision does in the weeks coming up. Because if people still aren't tuning into those cards and watching Collision, then I think there might just be a bigger problem with Collision as a whole. Probably the time, probably the day. I'm not sure what they would do. But we'll see. But I'm excited for that match, and I thought this was a good promo. So we had a good promo, and then we just had a promo. And that was backstage with Ric Flair and Sting. And I will say this, and this is going to be my one positive I say about this promo. I think Sting is just happy, and I think Sting is just enjoying everything that's going on. He looked happy in that promo. Tony Schiavone looked happy. Ric Flair looked happy. When Ric Flair was going to be announced that he signed a deal and he was going to be on TV with Sting, I think everyone kind of felt the same way. I don't think anyone was like, oh my god, yes, this is what I've been missing. Ric Flair on Dynamite every week. No one said that. Everyone was kind of like, okay. But I think everyone's biting the bullet because it's Sting, and at least it's one of those things where we know that there's an end. It's at Revolution. Then he should be gone, kind of like a bad spirit. But yeah, this was very much an 80s promo. It was them hyping up that Revolution is going to be March 3rd in Greensboro, North Carolina, which is totally fine. I think that was cool. Sting came out. Sting said some words to put over Ric Flair about how that was 35 years ago they had their world title match, and that match made him. And then Ric Flair took over the mic, and 74-year-old Ric Flair does what 74 Ric Flair does, which is ramble. And it felt like an 80s promo. It was a lot of just kind of yelling and explaining. Nothing, he didn't really say anything. He just kind of said that he's ready to go with Sting. That's the highlight. It was a little long. He rambled. Something really important happened in. Ric Flair came out looking like a discount Marvel villain. Looks like, basically looked like an extra billionaire Lex Luthor there. It's just Ric Flair. And I think it's just that he's old. You know, I mean, at least at that age, he can do stuff, but I don't think we need this. I also don't think we need this to be a regular thing, either. I don't think we need Ric Flair cutting promos every week. If Ric Flair wants to be there, be with Sting, and that's the deal that they want him to do, he can come down with him for matches. He can be with him around at times. I think the days of Ric Flair cutting massive promos are over. I don't think people need it. At best, it does nothing for the show. At best, it does nothing for the show. At worst, it actively hurts the show. I don't think this actively hurt the show, but again, this was pretty in the mid. It just was a little long, didn't really need to be there, and wasn't... You could have just summed up that it was going to be at the arena. I didn't need Ric Flair cutting an incoherent promo, explaining that he's there for Sting, and explaining things that we already know. We already know he's here. We already know he's going to be with Sting. We already know he's going to be there for his last match. I don't need, for the next, 10 weeks, for him to re-explain to me what is happening. And, again, it didn't derail the show. It was just there, and it was kind of annoying. Ugh, I just hope that that's not going to be a thing. As a side note, this is another nitpick, but I understand that part of the reason they were able to get him is because of his woo energy, which looks insane. I'm tired of seeing that, though, on the around the Jumbotron, because I look and see the Jumbotron, and then I see two giant images of woo energy with Ric Flair's head, and that is a little distracting. But, again, it was there. Was it the worst promo I've ever seen? No. Was it the best promo? Not even close. Was it bad? Probably. Did it derail the show? No. It was just there. It existed. Definitely not a must-watch, not needed, but kind of slowed everything down. I was more excited, and I was like, now I'm bored. So then up next, we had Mark Briscoe and Roosh in another Continental Classic match. And I liked this match. This was good. I was very happy with this. The ending of this match was probably the best. That finishing sequence, Roosh going to the corner with the double leg drop kick to the corner, pinning him straight, dead staring at the camera. That was great. It's always crazy to me how over Mark Briscoe sounds, because he came out and everyone was happy to see him. Minnesota was not as happy to see Roosh. But Roosh looked really good in this match. And again, I'll say this again. I think one thing that is going to be good out of this tournament, I hope, is that this tournament is you're gonna have some new contenders for a lot of these titles that you haven't had before. And I think the main person you're gonna have is Roosh. I'm not saying you put him at the world title. I don't think he's there. But a TNT title, an international title, I think you could insert Roosh after this tournament right into one of those spaces. Because this match is good, and I think having him in this tournament gets to highlight that. He looks great. He definitely knows how to wrestle. Mark Briscoe also knows how to wrestle. This match was really good. There were some good spots, especially when Roosh sort of suplexed him off the apron onto the floor. That was really good. Roosh definitely tried to beat him down more. He has that crazy look in his eyes. Mark Briscoe had a nice comeback there as well. It was all really good. And again, I think Mark Briscoe, as over as he is, he's in that same slot as Jay Lethal, where he's in the tournament. I don't think anyone's expecting Mark Briscoe to win this tournament, by no means. And I think that would be a bad decision to have Mark Briscoe win this tournament. But he's a person that I could see in one of these later matches getting a tie to screw someone over, or randomly pick up a win just off of shenanigans. But I think this is a really good match. And now, I think with it, you have Rush at 3 points. And at this point in the match, if you're looking at the match points, Jon Moxley has 6, Swerve has 3, Jay White has 3, Rush has 3. And again, I think that's your top 4. Because I think Jay Lethal and I think Mark Briscoe, as good as it is to watch them wrestle, they are definitely the fodder for the fire here. They're definitely sort of the, I don't want to say sacrificial lambs, but they're going to be at the bottom because I think that's just where they're at right now. I mean, Mark Briscoe is just kind of around. He is a baby face to root for when you see him in matches, but he's not anywhere near a title at the moment. Jay Lethal has been around Eddie Kingston feuding for the Ring of Honor title. And then I think you kind of fit everyone else, just fits above them. But this is a good match. I do think that Mark Briscoe has had 2 really good matches now versus Rush and versus Jon Moxley. Both have been good, both have been entertaining. And again, I think Rush comes out still looking great. I think you can have basically Rush lose to someone like that last week with Jay White off of a sort of low blow that the ref doesn't see. And then you can have him pick up a win versus Mark Briscoe. You're probably going to have him pick up a win versus Lethal as well. And then I think you're going to have him probably lose the Swerve. Possibly tie Moxley, but probably not. And then he's going to be at that 4 position. But it does set him up for good things to come after this. I think this is a good place. I think all the tournament matches so far, I don't think there's really been a bad tournament match, which is crazy. But yeah, I think it's been really good. I think this is a good way to showcase all their stars as well, and I think it's been really helpful for them. And then we had a nice little backstage segment with Toni Storm. And I think the Toni Storm character is great. I think, again, when you have the title on her, she's someone that you can put on every week, every show to get some TV time. And I think that's good. I think that was very exciting. I think that was something that is important for the women's division. And I thought it was good. Talked about partying after her acceptance speech, which was very funny. Talked about having gout, which was kind of just another funny little part there. And then we find out she's going to defend her title next week. I'm assuming, since they didn't announce an opponent, it's just going to be kind of another filler match. But she will defend the title again. One thing I hope that will happen is this is probably now the time that you can start building reputable contenders against her. Whether you want to have her face Saraya again, you can have her with Chris Statland, or you could have her with Willow Nightingale. You could even do a turn of Mariah May. That's probably not going to happen, let's be honest. But you can start building up some contenders to have some interesting feuds with her. I think she is a star. She's going to have eyes on her. Best to use her to get stars and eyes on the women's division. What about this was good? Ironically enough, right after this, Taz had the one funny line he had all night, in which he just goes, "Yeah, I know, that gout is rough." Everyone cracked up at that. That's funny. See, Taz with the one-liners. If he's just there for one-liners, he's fine. Other stuff, though, I don't know why he's there. But I thought that was good. Again, I think that's another way. I was also thinking halfway through that promo, too. One thing I'm confused about, and I don't know if anyone else knows this, and if you do, put in the comments. Does anyone know what Britt Baker's doing? Because I don't know where she's been. I would assume she would be at home helping with Adam Cole. But again, he got hurt last time and she was still able to make it to TV. So I wonder what she's doing. Because again, I think a Britt Baker, Timeless Toni Storm feud would be great for this division. I think, especially around the world title, use your stars you have. And it's crazy to think that even though Britt hasn't really been on TV, she's still probably one of the biggest stars in the women's division. So I wonder what they're going to do with that. But nice little segment. Always enjoyable watching Timeless Tony Storm do these little vignettes. So then we get an MJF promo. MJF is there, he comes out, and he gets the ring. And this promo was a little interesting. There was some big news around it. So I'm going to recap it really quick. So he comes down to the ring. He's got the cane. Obviously, everybody knows he's actually hurt with his hip. And again, I think it's the same boat as we're talking about Bryan Danielson. If MJF wants to wrestle, then he will wrestle. If he doesn't want to wrestle, then I feel like they'll move the title off of him. But again, I think that's a decision that definitely gets talked about. I don't think it's a forced issue where AEW is saying, no, you have to wrestle. I think if he really didn't want to wrestle, I think he wouldn't wrestle. And they would just push it back. So, obviously he's going to wrestle. He wants to wrestle. Comes to the promo. He puts over Samoa Joe, which I think is good. I think that's a good thing about having a babyface champion, is your babyface champion is going to put over anyone he faces. He did it at the end with Jay White. He's doing it right now with a promo of Samoa Joe. I guess the big news around it is that when he talked about Samoa Joe, he name-dropped WWE, saying that Samoa Joe wasn't afforded the opportunities in WWE. He said that by name. And then he also said that he came here because he wasn't coming to line his pockets. He was coming because he believed in those three letters, AEW. And obviously, I think everyone watching knew that that was a shot right there at Punk. But at the end of his promo at Raw, basically said, I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to make money. And I thought the promo was fine. I think the promo definitely was supposed to be, there was supposed to be a wow factor with that. I don't think AEW really needs to be name-dropping WWE. I think they will, because I feel that that's something that they want to do. I don't think they need to. I think the only downside of them doing it is because it just is going to bring out a lot of people. We're going to call it the obvious, which is that WWE is doing better than our AEW. And that's a fact. That's true. Whether you like AEW more or not, they're not doing as well as WWE. But WWE is also the number one product. AEW definitely feels like the secondary. So you can have them name drop, and I think it's fine. I think MJF doesn't mind doing it. I think they're okay with doing it. If that's what they want to do, and that's totally fine, I think that's their call. I don't think they need to, though. I think it only just brings in more people, basically, on Twitter, on YouTube, wherever, just basically going to come out and say, well, why doesn't AEW go have the numbers that WWE has? And I think that turns into a whole debacle. I also don't know how many fans really like doing that too, but he did. That's the whole point. Anyways, he puts over Samoa Joe, talks about that Joe is a formidable opponent. Joe is a world champion wherever he goes, just hasn't had the opportunities. And that at World's End, he will fight Samoa Joe, but he wants to fight Samoa Joe because he wants to be the best, and he wants to fight. It seems he's taking those words of Adam Cole seriously, and he wants to go up against Samoa Joe at the best he can. He ends the promo by saying that Samoa Joe might be King Kong and Godzilla incarnate, but he's going to put him down if he wants the title. And he breaks the cane over his knee. So obviously, he's in good enough shape to do that, even if it's gimmicked. And then he stands in the ring, and then the lights go out. When the lights go out, kind of looks just a little kind of like House of Blackie entrance. Little light you can see. And then you had some goons come out. And these goons were masked. And they had the devil imprint on their backs. And I think it was important to look at how many goons were there and what they looked like. So there were a total of 4 guys that came out. 3 of them held down MJF. 1 of them came out with, I think, a bat or like a pipe or something. He was looking like he was going to hit him. They didn't get the hit in. Samoa Joe was there, and he just appeared out of nowhere. Grabbed the guy with the bat, pulled him out of the ring. Went into the ring with the bat, everyone else dispersed. So I think that's just a little note in this whole story that I like to point out, because I think it's interesting. So there are 4 guys. clearly there are 4 henchmen of the devil. I think AEW or someone had put out there that the people involved with the devil vignettes are going to be the actual people. I think one of them is clearly Wardlow. I couldn't tell if it was the guy holding the bat or the one other big guy that was holding down MJF. But one of them feels like Wardlow, and I'm going to explain that in a second. But there's definitely 4. And I think there's a lot of predictions of who it could be. I think people are thinking that Jack Perry could be the devil. People are thinking that Adam Cole could be the devil. This felt more Adam Cole as the devil for me. Mainly because after that happens and Samoa Joe saves MJF, goes under the Jumbotron, and it says, "In the shadows our game begins. Next week MJF and Samoa Joe will face the unknown in a tag team match. Are you a hero, Max?" And I think, I don't know, at least for me, I think everyone was worried that after the devil showed up while Adam Cole was there, that clearly it must be Jack Perry. I'm not sold that it's Jack Perry, mainly because then the devil actually comes out and attacks MJF and Adam Cole's not there. Plus, the end of the promo, "Are you a hero, Max?" I feel like they're really trying to put off the fact that they wanted to get the red herring. Feels like it could be Jungle Boy because they're trying to get it off of Adam Cole. But this definitely kind of gave off more Adam Cole vibes, especially with the numbers. And I think this is the other thing. If Jack Perry is in this group, I would see him more as the lackey than he is as the devil. If they were to make him the devil, it would make him look smart, but it'll be interesting. So, either way, Samoa Joe and MJF are going to have a tag match next week versus the Unknown. Maybe that's what they're calling the lackeys. The henchmen are now going to be known as the Unknown. I wonder how that's going to go, because I'm assuming they're going to be all in masks. I also wonder how that match is going to go. Because I can also see, as I talked about before, if MJF wants to wrestle hurt, he's going to wrestle hurt. But it feels like if he's as hurt as they're saying, maybe not the greatest idea to have him in a tag match with the pay-per-view coming up to avoid him getting injured. So either he really isn't that, he's healing well and it's not as bad as we thought, or that we're probably going to have Samoa Joe do a lot of the work here. Maybe eat the loss to the Unknown. Maybe do something. But it'll be interesting. And I am interested to find out who the devil is. I do think it's good to know that this is definitely a 5-person faction. The devil and 4 people. I think one of them is probably Wardlow. And the reason I think that is because right after this match, what we get is a Wardlow match coming up. It's going to be Wardlow and AR Fox. And I think everyone has pointed it out, but I think one of the giveaways was that Wardlow came out and immediately, if you look at his hair, it's all matted down. It looks like someone who was clearly just wearing a mask. And I think that was like, oh, okay. I wish I would have threw some water in his hair or something. But he looked like it was matted down. It looked like he just got done taking off a mask. His hair is all staticky and pushed down. So I think it would be safe to confirm that Wardlow is one of the guys. Especially because we already know Wardlow wants to go after MJF. And that match isn't happening until World's End. And it feels like the devil reveal will come by World's End. Or at least we'll find out who the henchmen are. So I think that will be a big one. But definitely feels like Wardlow is one of them. Going into Wardlow's match, Wardlow versus AR Fox. Some people saying that this was a complete squash match. And it kind of was. As I will say, AR got some offense in more than other opponents of Wardlow. But in a very typical Wardlow fashion. He comes out, he does his match, does some big moves, does the powerbomb. Instead of pinning him, the referee just stops the match because AR's Fox is taking too much damage. And then that's the end of the match. And again, this match was fine, wasn't great. I just don't think they know. I think they're just trying to buy time for Wardlow until he's in the actual devil faction, whatever they want to call it, if he is part of the Unknown. But again, I think we've seen too many of these matches now from Wardlow. It works. You can do squash matches, but again, we've seen Wardlow so many times, and it's versus people that are either jobbers or people who are at the bottom of the card who are just around, who just job for the big guys. You know, AR Fox is a perfect example. AR Fox doesn't win a lot of matches. They don't do a lot with AR Fox. AR Fox, for some reason though, has 7 title defenses just to make title defenses for champions. And probably the same thing he was going to do with Wardlow. If you're going to do squash matches with Wardlow, why don't you have him squash, I don't know, someone a little bit better? If you want to make him look like a threat. But again, he's just in limbo. And I also don't think you really need Wardlow having squash matches anymore. He's in this faction. You can just have him try to threaten MJF backstage. It just seems better. It just seems like a better use of time. You don't need him beating up AR Fox. Because AR Fox isn't doing anything. You know AR Fox is going to lose. He has, like, the worst record. He's going to lose. It's going to be a 5-minute match. You're going to have Wardlow do a bunch of moves that he does to everybody. And again, it was just there. They did it to fill time. They're probably doing it just to keep Wardlow relevant. But I think you could probably make Wardlow a lot more relevant if you just flush out his character a little bit more. Other than just smash, powerbomb, gone. I mean, the subtle change between Wardlow and Hobbs is monumental. Because Hobbs, you remember this, Hobbs for a while was doing the same thing. He was just a big guy who looked menacing. But you put him with Don Callis, you give him a couple one-liners, and all of a sudden, Hobbs has a personality. And Hobbs is great. You can do the same thing with Wardlow. But if you're saving him for this, then you don't really need him squashing people. You can just have him be cooler when he comes back with all of the unknown faction, all with the devil, and just be fine. I don't need Wardlow doing this. And I think, again, I will say this. At best, we basically just get to see Wardlow powerbomb people. And that shine that he had in his first couple matches after he betrayed MJF, that's gone now. At worst, it just makes everybody think that Wardlow's boring. Wardlow doesn't really talk, he just beats people up. I think people are tired of just seeing that. Especially when you don't have Wardlow cutting a lot of promos. He's just there. That one backstage segment of MJF where he pinned him, that looks great. That makes Wardlow look good. Having him come out here and do a squash match with AR Fox doesn't make him look good. If anything, it actively hurts his character. So, not great. It's fine. It was filler. And I don't think if you want Wardlow to feel menacing, or have a guy like Wardlow, you don't want him to just be filler. Same thing with Miro sometimes. You don't need these big guys being filler. You can just have them be monsters. You can just have them around. I think when you have a monster like that, you can have them on TV for a bit, win a championship, or beat the best guys, and then lose to the top guy, and then they go away for a bit. I think that's usually the best strategy. You're going to have him around, maybe do something a little bit more interesting with him. I've seen this so many times now. And I get that you're going to have rematches, you're going to have matches that look the same. I do not need to see Wardlow powerbomb another person in a 5-minute match. That does nothing for anybody there. Doesn't help Wardlow, doesn't help his opponent, whoever it is. It's not like AR Fox looked better after this. And it was there to fill up time. And I don't think that's really needed. I don't think that's the direction they should go with someone like Wardlow. So after that, you get the Hardys and Brother Zay versus Top Flight in Action and Andretti. And I'll say this, I like the combo of Top Flight and Action. I think they are a good trios group. I think they're a trios group that, if you want to put the trios titles on someone, you can have them with the Ring of Honor titles, you can have them with the AEW trios titles, especially since the Acclaimed are just no longer there because they're hurt. But I think they're good. I think they look good, and I think the Hardys look good. I think the Hardys look like the older team. They kind of played the heel there. But it was good to see Dante Martin back. I think Dante Martin feels like a definitely piece that was missing from AEW. Definitely is a guy that you can put out there and you know he's going to have an entertaining match. He's young, so there definitely are going to be some mess-ups. But he's entertaining, and people like watching him wrestle. I think having him back's a big plus. I think this match was entertaining. I think everyone was just happy, especially being in their hometown. Top Flight got a great reaction. They had a pretty good match. Dante Martin definitely got the hot tag, had some really good moves in there. Definitely was pretty 50-50. I mean, it's the Hardys, but the Hardys jobbed out here. And Top Flight win. Top Flight, Action Andretti pick up the W. Dante Martin gets the pin over Brothers A. Good match. I think it's entertaining. And I think it'll be good to come for Top Flight. I think if you're looking about tag teams and you want another tag team to put in there, I think Top Flight's a great contender. They're young guys. They can work well with other people. They're a much better group than Commander and Gravity, who, in my opinion, almost hurt the House of Black last week. And they're also a reliable tag team. I'm hoping, and I'm saying reliable tentatively. They are reliable when you put them in a match against a better tag team, because they will do good work. Now, reliable hopefully depends on how healthy they can stay. Definitely feels like one of them's there, one of them's hurt. They can stay healthy for a couple months. They're going to be really good. They're going to be really reliable. And it's going to be good for everybody. So I just hope that's what happens. And I think action with them makes sense. 3 young guys, 3 good talented guys, 3 guys that can keep working on their chemistry, working on their characters, put them together, see what happens. But this was a good match. I was entertained. I was very happy with it. Nothing super important to report here. The only thing that will be interesting is that they had a little segment after this. I think it was a little later on, but I'll get into it now. They were backstage with Renee, and Penta comes out. Penta gives a little fist bump to Dante. And if you remember, that was the move with Penta that basically destroyed his leg. So they're cool. Penta counts 1, 2, 3, and all of a sudden, I believe you had El Hijo the Vikingo. Yeah, it was Vikingo, and then Commander come out. And basically, we're finding out they're going to have a match. And I think this is the type of match that I'm excited to see. I know it's going to be a spot fest. I know that it's just going to be high-flying action. But this is one of the things that's great about AEW. You're just going to have matches like that. And that's going to be exciting, and I'm here for it. And I think those are great matches that you can have with Top Flight, with Action Andretti. You can have them in these high, great matches with other great high flyers. And they're going to do great. And that match is going to be exciting. And I think that's what people want to see. Especially a lot of fans in AEW, they're going to want to see high flyer matches. Doesn't matter if it's going to be a spot fest. Doesn't matter if it might seem a little, there might not be really any story there. It's just the type of match they're going to put on. I think the fans are going to like it. And I'm excited for it. And then after that, you had another hometown homecoming for one of the stars, because it was going to be Julia Hart versus Emi Sakura for the TBS title. And I think this match was fine. I think it was decent. I'm happy that now that you have Julia as champion, you're going to get a lot of matches. You were getting a lot of matches with Chris, but I think having the TBS Women's title have matches every week is a really big plus. And I remember making a video about this earlier, but this is definitely going to be test time. You have a lot of younger women around that TBS belt. It's just going to be interesting to see how Julia does as a champion. I thought this match was fine. It was pretty good. I think it is smart, it is very smart, that you're having people like Emi Sakura, Lady Frost be the first couple challengers for Julia Hart, because you know you're going to have these veterans put on good matches and put on decent matches with Julia Hart. Even though she has a championship now, everybody knows she's very young, everybody knows that she's going to constantly need more matches to keep getting better. So having her with someone like Emi is really good. I felt this match was pretty solid. It definitely, like, Julia still needs to do work on her in-ring. She's come a long way, but she still needs to do more work there. But I think having someone to bounce off like Emi is good for her. It's also good the fact that Emi caught her in the finish, because Julia Hart overshot that moonsault. Emi, like, rolled and caught her, which is good. I think the finish wasn't that great. That looked a little funky, a little rough. But again, I mean, this match was fine. They had her in front of her home crowd. They were all happy to see her. I think it'll be interesting to see where they set up this going from here, because obviously you're going to have World's End in Long Island, and you got two people there that could probably challenge on that card, right? Either going to be Chris Statlander rematch, in which case I don't really know what you do, or who wins, and the same thing goes for Willow Nightingale, who's there too. So I think leading up to it, you're going to have more of these Julia Hart versus some veteran wrestler matches. That's going to be good. That's going to help out Julia. And again, I think that's going to be a very positive thing. But this match was fine. The finish was a little weird. They tried to tell the story that Emmy had chosen for the House Rules match. No win by submission. And that kind of played a little bit of story. But clearly, the women are still developing. I think that's going to be good. It's going to be good to see moving forward. But I think this is smart by them. Wasn't the greatest match in the world. Was it the worst match in the world? No. But it's so far going in the right direction. Hopefully then we'll start seeing people like Sky Blue, Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander go back into the fold for the TBS Championship. But for now, it's fine. That was good. After that, we're going to get Christian Cage versus Edge little promo. Christian Cage comes out. He's got a bunch of security. And he's talking, and he's like, I want to invite Adam Copeland down to the ring. And I think I said Edge earlier, my bad. It's Adam Copeland now. It's a little confusing once in a while. So I'm just going to say Copeland. It's going to be easier. Cope. Invites him down the ring. Waits a little bit. Copeland finally comes down. Do a little bit of promo. Guys get in between them. And then Cage sends them off. He gets rid of security because they're just going to talk. And then at that point, I was like, oh, Edge is just Copeland. Gee, see? I'm telling you, it's hard to remember sometimes. Copeland is just going to beat him up. But he doesn't. Christian just starts talking. He's kind of going an interesting route. He's trying to appease to Copeland, trying to talk to him. Basically saying that he was right, they should team up. We shouldn't be enemies. You're basically a brother to me, they brought up. He also brings up the fact that Copeland doesn't have a dad, which I was like, ooh, that's going to be interesting. That's a nice little note. Again, I think they're friends. I think they can work. They are able to do these sorts of stories because they are such good friends in real life. But it definitely feels, you definitely felt some tension there. And they do a little bit of talk. Christian says, you should join me, be on my side. Copeland low blows him, pushes him down, gets in his face telling him that he's going to take his title, he's going to beat him up in Montreal, and then he also tells him to go F himself, and leaves the ring. They didn't believe that at all, which is crazy, but, I think this is still one of the best stories AEW has going. I am excited for this event next week. That's going to be really good to watch. It's going to be really fun to watch. And I think the story is good. And I think you can go either way. You can either have Christian win via interference, or you can have Copeland win, possibly have Killswitch betray him, and go from there. And I think that's really good. And I think that's a very entertaining way to go. But no, I'm excited for this. I think this is good. I mean, I think you have two guys who definitely know what they're doing, definitely know how to hype up their show. This definitely felt like a go-home sort of angle at the end of before a pay-per-view for them, because there are big matches coming up, and I think it was good. Just a nice little way to ease into that program, which I definitely will be watching. And then after this, it was time for the main event. And it was the main event, the last match in the Continental Classic for Dynamite. It was again with Swerve Strickland versus Jay White. This was a really good match. I think no one is shocked by that, but this was really good. This was a good way to end the main event. I know sometimes Dynamite in the past has had weird things where they put on their best match first, and then not as interesting of a main event, but I was really happy with this. This felt like a main event. This felt like the top two guys on this show at the end, and they worked really well together in the ring. Swerve definitely was more over. Jay got some really good reactions as a heel though too, but Swerve, everyone was behind. And I think they had really good chemistry. I think Jay White's really sort of defensive, sort of quick style was in really good contrast to Swerve, they both did a really good job selling for each other. And I think that was really big. I think Jay White's selling is probably next level. I'll get to that. But they had a really good match. They had a good back and forth. Definitely felt like Jay was trying to cheat at any way he could. Same scenario as the Roosh match, where the referee got put in the corner. Jay White tried to Lobo Swerve. He missed. Definitely hit him with the roll-up. Only a 2 count, though. He was able to kick out, and that was a great kick out. It made him feel good. And to end it all off, you had Swerve picking up the quick pin over Jay White. Swerve got a nice win. Jay White sold this, looked distraught, looked insane, did not want to lose, could not get over the fact that he lost, couldn't believe that he got pinned. And I think this was really good. I think this is exactly what they were going for. I do have some thoughts about the whole tournament as a whole. One thing I was thinking about halfway through this match, I was like, they might actually make these two guys tie. And I was very thankful that they didn't. I think you could have these guys tie, but I think having Swerve go over here definitely makes Swerve feel like him and Moxley are the two people to beat. And I think for Jay, having such a good match made him look really good. I feel like that's sort of the match we should have gotten at Full Gear with MJF, because I think this match makes Jay White still look very formidable and very good. I think Jay definitely is a great wrestler and definitely someone who should be interesting to watch, and definitely one of the top guys in AEW right now. And I think this match makes him look good. This makes him look like a heel who couldn't get the advantage, who really sold the fact that he could not believe he was pinned by Swerve. This is a feud I definitely see. If Swerve does get the belt, I could watch a whole feud of Jay White and Swerve, and that would be very interesting. Give me a Mogul Embassy versus Bullet Club Gold group. Very happy with that. And I think this does really well for Swerve. I think this just keeps him in that main event level area, and someone who should probably be the next champion. I think as good as Joe is, I think I'd be happy if Joe won too. But definitely Swerve feels like the next guy up. Feels like the next guy who could run with that title. And I think that's good. So all in all, that was all of Dynamite. I thought it was a really good episode. I thought it was pretty good. Definitely had some lower points. I feel that the Ric Flair promo was probably the lowest point. The TBS title was fine. Again, I think that's a very much work in progress right now, but it wasn't unentertaining. Ric Flair was unentertaining. The women's match was entertaining, at least. He had a couple other things on there, but I thought the show, all in all, was good. It was a pretty good show, and I think if they keep... Those are the type of shows I feel like people have been missing from Dynamite in the past. They want good matches against people who are good. And I think that's a big thing AEW should do moving forward. There has been quite a bit of protective booking in the past, and I think that hurts them in the long run. Having a match like Jay White versus Swerve Strickland should be the blueprint of how you have guys win and lose. I didn't feel after that loss that Jay White feels any less of a star than he did going into that match. I think Swerve could even argue feels better. It feels like a bigger star. And I think that's important when you have really good people in matches together. You don't need top-notch people wrestling jobbers and saying, oh, but their record's really good. No. You could give me Swerve versus Jay White every week, and if Jay White lost every week, I wouldn't think any less of Jay White after that match. And Swerve only looks more and more like a world beater. And I think doing that has helped AEW, and it really did help this episode. You have some really good matches coming up. I know they'll be interesting. And a quick little recap they gave after this match. The gold division, you have Mox and Swerve now tied at 6, Jay and Roosh at 3, and Lethal and Briscoe at 0, which I thought was good. I will say, it'll be interesting to see how they do the ties later on. Because again, those are the rules. If they don't do a tie this whole tournament, I think that's going to be bad. Because then I don't need to know the rules around the tie. But I'm expecting a tie to come in a little bit, and eventually that'll be interesting. So I will be excited. But that was all of Dynamite. Thanks for tuning in with us, guys. If you want to leave a comment, let us know what your favorite and worst part of Dynamite was. What were some things you liked, some things you didn't. And let me know what you're excited about moving forward. Join us again. We're going to have another video dropping on Sunday. And we're going to go over SmackDown and Collision. And if anything happens on Rampage, I will probably talk about it there too. Until next time, guys, this is the Matt with Matt, and have a great rest of your week.